In Buddhism, it's quite common to see the four guardian kings represented both as sculpture and as paintings. In paintings as primary figures and secondary figures. So in the Bon religion, do we have the four guardian kings, or the four kings of the directions, or do we have four figures that fulfill a similar role to the four kings in Buddhist art? Well, the answer is yes, we do. Now, what we find is with some modern temples in Tibet and India, we can find these four guardian kings on the outer walls, the same as you would for a Buddhist temple. Now, a big difference that we have with the Bon figures are that they appear a little bit different, whereas the Buddhists appear as human-type figures with human faces, wearing lots of armor and lots of jewelry, appearing as kings. In the Bon religion, actually, what is somewhat common is to have animal faces. And we have four figures, and the first has, in the east, has a lion face. The one in the west has a pig face. The north has a bear face. And the king in the south has a dragon face. The dragon face can look very much like Chusing, like a water creature or water monster. Now, another difference is that they have different attributes in their hands than the Buddhist figures. And they also each have a mount, whereas the Buddhist figures do not, the Buddhist kings do not have a mount. They do not ride on an animal or stand on something specific that is symbolic in some way. Whereas the four Bon figures, they each stand or ride a bird, a different type, each has a different type of bird. So this is quite unusual. Now, we do not have a lot of examples of the Bon four guardian kings outside of temples or as a primary figure in art at all. But what we do have is we have a dozen or 24 painted compositions where we have the guardian kings as secondary figures. Now, also what we find is that the four guardian kings don't always have to have animal faces. Sometimes they can have human type faces. And also sometimes they appear to be holding the same attributes as the Buddhist four kings. Now, how can this be explained? Well, it seems that these four kings in the Bon religion, they don't really appear in any early art that we've identified so far. They generally appear in the art of the Bon Sarma, the new Bon, which is very close to the Buddhist Nyingma tradition. So it's very possible, it's not conclusive, but it's very possible that the four guardian kings of the Bon tradition belong to the Bon Sarma and do not belong to the Yungdrung, the original Bon. They're an adaptation, a borrowing from Buddhism. And then they appear with older deities, but in recent paintings. So they've just, for many of the new paintings, especially in West Tibet, especially in the Amdo regions and northern Kham regions, the Bon appear to put, and this is also the areas, the regions where Bon Sarma is so strong. So we find a lot of secondary figures in the bottoms of the painting, bottom right and left corner, or in the four corners of the painting. We find these four guardian kings, but these new guardian kings, likely of the Bon Sarma tradition. So just a very short introduction to the four kings of Bon. Not a huge subject, and generally only found as secondary figures in art. So press the like button, you can subscribe, and you can also join HAR on Patreon.